My name is Brett Panter, and I am the founding partner from the law firm of Panter Sampedro. And today the question has been posed to me: how does a jury determine if a doctor's actions were negligent? And the way that is done is there's something called the standard of care. So in every medical negligence case, there must be experts. The plaintiff, which is our side representing the injured person, always has to hire or retain an expert in the same and similar care practice area as the doctor will bring in a case against, or if it's a nurse, in that area. So we have to go out and get a similar healthcare provider, such as if the case involves a cardiovascular situation, we need to get a cardiovascular doctor. That doctor must give us an opinion in a form of an affidavit for us to get the case beginning. Once we get the affidavit, then we finish and complete a pre-suit investigation, which is about 90 days. Then we go to formal discovery, and then ultimately, if the case isn't settled, we go to a jury trial, and that begets the question. And the question was, how do we prove that there was negligence? Negligence means that there was a breach in the standard of care. So now there is what's called a national standard of care. In the old days, there used to be different standards of care. A small community might have a certain standard of care versus a big city. Now we have a national standard of care. So it's basically the same everywhere. And that is what is reasonable under the circumstances. So there are always cases where there are bad results and they may or may not be negligence. But when there is negligence, there's a breach in the standard of care, and we must get an expert to testify to that. Typically, the defense will hire their own expert who will say there is no breach in the standard of care. And who decides? You, the jury. 6 people who are unbiased, who will sit in on a jury trial and determine if they believe that there was a breach in the standard of care. There will be expert testimony on both sides, but ultimately the jury will decide and will look at the type of care that was rendered and determine if there was a breach in the standard of care. And if there was a breach in the standard of care, the jury must then determine if it was causally related to the injuries and damage. And once we have proven that there was a breach in the standard of care with our experts and maybe some literature and other types of proof in the case, then we will proceed to a jury verdict. And we believe that we will take cases which will show a breach in the standard of care. And once there is a breach, the jury will determine the damages. If you have further questions, feel free to contact me, Brett Panter, from the Panter Law Firm, Panter Sampedro. Feel free to go on our website, www.panterlaw.com, and speak to any of my partners who are all board certified by the Florida Bar.